Hello everybody. This is a second video I do on the Sony A7R or Alpha 7R because I've had it for a while now and I had the opportunity to use it a little bit and get a thorough impression of it. I will also post another video about actually a second video about the use of third-party lenses, because there are a few details I would like to talk about, but they're more dedicated to those people interested in third-party lenses used on this as a platform. So I will not get into that in this video. What I do get into is my setup. Currently I have the A7R, which is the higher resolution model of the A7 with a 36 megapixel sensor. I have the Zeiss 35mm 2.8 FE lens, and I have the Zeiss 1.8 55mm FE lens. Okay, let me get into the camera. The camera from the top is pretty clean. You have the hot shoe. It's a standard hot shoe with a port inside, so you can use it for additional optional stuff. Then you have the mode dial as usual. Basically this is a Sony standard, more or less. You have two dedicated positions for individual settings. You have video setting, you have panorama, you have scenes, and you have auto and program. Program is a standard program setting. Auto lets the camera decide which settings to use for the specific situation. The on-off switch, the shutter release button, the exposure compensation button, very convenient in this position. Then you have a custom button that you can assign functions to. Personally, I have it to zoom in for manual focusing. I will tell you more in the other video about this. Then you have, I will explain them from the top, even though they're not on the top. You have one dial here and one dial here. Depending on the mode you're in, they will have different functions. Then let's go to the back. The menu button is on the top left side, and it's the only button on that side. And actually, I would rather have it somewhere around here because it's, you know, you're used to other cameras that have everything together, and you miss it here. However, I mean, this is, once you've set the camera, you usually shouldn't have to go to menu very often. Then you have the video button over here. For the A7R, I hardly ever do video, so it's not so much of an issue, but you don't switch it by mistake because it's in this position that is kind of out of the way. Then you have this switch. Depending on the position it's in, this button changes function. For example, in this case it's auto exposure lock. In this case it switches from autofocus to manual focus. Then you have this rotating dial that is also clickable, so you can switch your exposure mode, you can change your display view, you can change the white balance, and this is a programmable function. Then you have the trash can button, which is also a custom button. You have the play button, and you have another custom button up here. The screen is tiltable 90 degrees like this and 45 degrees like this, and then it goes in. Then you have the viewfinder, diopter correction, and that's about it on the back. The bottom side, you have the battery compartment, and an interesting thing in this case, and I like it personally, it's separate from the SD card compartment, which is here. Okay, and on the other side you have two little doors. This is for microphone in and headphones, and this one is for USB and HDMI. You can charge this camera through the USB port, which is kind of good because if you're traveling, if you're around, you just plug in a micro USB cable and you charge the camera. On the front, basically, you don't have anything but the button to remove the lens. This is the beautiful sensor. I won't leave it open too long, but I can take some dust off if I need to. Okay. If you switch the camera has Wi-Fi and NFC. I will talk about that once we go into the menu. Okay. The viewfinder switches automatically depending, well, if you put your eye on, or you can switch it by in the menu, but then it's basically hard-coded. It doesn't you can't change it very quickly, and this is something I miss a lot, and I would love Sony to change that. I would love them to give me the possibility to assign a button to it, for example, you know, take the C2 button, and that with that I can switch from the viewfinder to the screen. However, they haven't done it yet. I don't know if they will do it. I hope they do. I definitely hope they do. One other thing that Sony users may know and others may like is the FN button. The FN button gives you the possibility to access very quickly some basic, actually, well, some fundamental functions. You say white balance, you go move your cursor onto white balance, then you turn the wheel and you can change your settings. You go to flash, you turn the wheel and change your settings. And this is really good because you can do other things like flash exposure compensation, ISO, many things can be set like that, even like image format, effects from black and white, vivid, anything you can set from, many things you can set from here, which is quite convenient and avoids having to look for the menu button that is up here. The menu is the usual Sony menu set up in this way with 6 different sections and then subsections with a Sony logic. I personally never really got it, probably never will. Up to a certain extent it's logical, and then it stops being logical and you have to look for a single function that you want to set. The image quality of this camera is fantastic. The handling, it's not the nicest camera I have because it looks kind of strange with this hump on top, and it's not a beautiful camera, but it's definitely a beautiful camera to use. The image quality is great. The 36 megapixels really work. The body is pretty sturdy. It's weather sealed, dust sealed. So, and the lenses that I showed you, the 35mm and the 55mm, are also weather sealed, so you can actually use it in a rather professional way. A few things about this camera: the autofocus, being contrast detect autofocus only, is not the fastest you can get. The A7 has a hybrid autofocus system, so it's supposed to be a bit faster. With this one they did not. Probably the target for this camera is more of a calm photography, landscape, studio photography, portrait photography. So you have the time you need and the camera will have the time it needs to focus. Also, the sync speed is a little bit lower, 1/160th of a second compared to 1/250th of a second. The frame rate is a little bit slower because it's 4 frames per second compared to 5 frames per second. On the other hand, this camera is all made of magnesium alloy, and the A7 has a little bit of plastic somewhere. Both are weather sealed, so technically that shouldn't really make a difference unless you drop it, but it's definitely something that makes this one feel more high-end. What else can I say? It's definitely a great camera. You wouldn't be disappointed if you had it. It has its flaws, and with many flaws you can live. One really bothers me a lot, and that's the battery life. The battery life in this camera, as I personally use this camera, which means I put it around my neck, turn it on, keep it ready to fire, have battery saving mode switched on to 2 minutes or something like that. However, probably due to the fact that the viewfinder gets activated all the time if you have it on and you have it close to your body, what seems to happen is it never goes into sleep mode and therefore keeps using battery. And weird enough, they say that the viewfinder uses more electricity, more battery power than the LCD screen. So probably it's even worse than if you had it switched to LCD only, because first of all it would go into sleep mode, and second, it would use less energy. In terms of how much this is a problem, if I go out, it will use a battery in 4 hours, regardless of how much I shoot. 4 to 5 hours, one battery will be completely empty. So if you are out for a day and you plan to shoot a bit and you want to be on the safe side, you will actually have to have 3 batteries with you. For everything else, this camera is fantastic. It's small. It's not even like 500 grams, so less than a pound in weight. Even the lenses are light. They're not small. The 55mm lens is by far not small if you compare it even to SLR lenses, but it's a fantastic lens. It's really a beautiful lens. For portraits, I really love to use this lens because the definition, the resolution gets really used with this lens. The fact that the camera does not have an optical low pass filter, I never had moire problems, but you see how crisp the image is. So this camera, actually this combination is great if you can live with some of the downsides. I really wish Sony would address the battery life, LCD viewfinder issue in some way. Maybe make it switchable manually. I'd rather have it manually switched than as it is now. The startup time isn't so long, so you could actually turn it off. I just don't like to turn it off. If I use my Leica M monochrome in one day, I don't even empty one battery. So there should be a solution to it. Now it's getting longer than I expected. I want to leave you with this. Great camera, some flaws that I can live with, and I really can recommend this camera to anybody who wants to invest this amount of money into a premium, top of the line, very compact, very portable camera for many kinds of use. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want, and many more videos coming your way. Thank you very much.